just pull out your home address. My home address. Yeah, your home address. Just the place that you've lived in for the longest time. Hello everybody, how you doing? Oh, 1 minute. Every blimmin' time, why won't it turn off? Hello, hi. First day of school over, yay, first day of work over. It was a good day, but I'm also happy to be back home. And, you always kind of start off very strong when you start work. You get home and you're like, right, I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna do the laundry, I'm gonna keep the house clean. Now, if I'm able to keep that consistently, that will be very, I will impress myself. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about some of the annoying things about being someone who travels a lot or lives in many different countries. There's often always like a glorious perspective to people who live in so many different countries. Wow, jet setters, amazing. You guys, get to have a really colorful, diverse, interesting life with lots of, memories and stories to tell, which is true. But people don't realize that there are certain technical things in the background that can make life really difficult. Here's one. When I became an adult, so I've traveled my whole life, lived in many different countries my whole life. As I've said in videos before, I've lived in 9 different countries. So I never actually lived in a country for more than 4 years until I was about 20 years old, and then I moved to Dubai where I lived there for 5 years. So 5 years is really the most I've lived somewhere, but when I was a child, I didn't live somewhere for more than 4 years. And so as a child, you don't really notice the technical difficulties, if you will, because your parents do everything for you. And so this phenomenon of having to keep up with the technicalities of things when you travel a lot, only came to the forefront for me when I became an adult and when I had to actually manage things by myself. So you might be wondering, what do I mean by the technicalities? For instance, simply moving to a country can cause you to lose access to your email address, to your PayPal account, to any of these secure websites that you need to verify yourself. It will detect that you've moved country or that you're, logging in from a weird location, and then you won't be able to get in. And oftentimes, when you can't get in, it tells you have to give a proof of something that is required in the country you were in before. And oftentimes the country you were in before you have no connection to it anymore. You don't have a family there. You don't really have many friends there. So you can't really sort it out, I remember one time in Kuwait, when I had just left Kuwait, I was in Cyprus. No, I was in Greece. I was traveling around Greece, living my life. I was getting a salary still. It was COVID, but Greece was open. I was having a great time. And all of a sudden, I go to pay something, declined. I was like, what? Oh, and let me preface this with the fact that Kuwait had called and they said, hello, when I was in Cyprus a week before that, they were like, hello, you need to update your Kuwaiti ID. You have left the country and, it's important you update your Kuwaiti ID. Otherwise, your bank account will be cancelled. And then I was like, no, I left Kuwait because it's COVID and I'm on tourist visa now and, and blah, blah, blah. Are you going to cancel my account? Oh dear, don't worry, it will be fine. And I'm like, okay. And I felt a bit iffy about it, but she's like, don't worry. So I was like, okay. Come 2 weeks later, I pay for something, card declined. That was really annoying because I had no family there. I had a couple of people I knew, and I was on the phone to these guys so much, telling them like, excuse me, I don't live there anymore. Okay, dear, get family member to verify. I don't have family member. All my money is in that account. Can you at least transfer my money from that account to another account so that I can start? Dear, no, this is not possible. Anyway, it was such a stressful situation. Like I had to get a family friend to send me money. And then eventually, I went through every loophole. I was like, I am going to achieve this. So like when I focus in on something and I'm like, there's no way I'm not achieving this, I achieve it. And basically, I got a friend who was there to go to the bank with me on the phone to verify it with the lady, and then they sorted it. Like it was a really dumb thing in the end that helped me get my card reopened. But that's the way it is in Kuwait. It's always just anything goes. But anyways, the point is that that's like such an annoying thing. Whereas if your hometown is the UK and you have a UK bank card and you know you have an address you've lived in for 15 years and you know, it's just so easy, and it just doesn't happen that way. So I'm learning that every time I move to a new country, I have to make sure all my passwords are sorted, my number is updated on my email address, on my PayPal, like everything is updated before I actually move to a new country. I'm now trying to think of the other one. What was the other one I was gonna say? Oh yeah, the fact that your phone number constantly changes. So you lose contact, you lose phone numbers from people, and also the people that your family who live in the same place start to get so irritated because they're like, oh, how many numbers do I have of you? I have George Cyprus, George Malaysia, George Africa, George. Which one is you? And people can get really frustrated with that. And the last and final thing that becomes really difficult for me is, and this is kind of a specific situation, but you'll really understand the annoyingness of it. Basically, I am entitled to a Cypriot passport, okay? And I really want one. But the problem is, in order for me to get one, and now I'm not sure if this is true, but I'm guessing, like I've kind of fathomed that this is true. I've done research, but the websites are always so complicated. Basically, I want to become a citizen, but I haven't been to the army yet. And it's a law that you have to go to the army in Cyprus. Every time I go to Cyprus, I have to get something called an Adhian Exodal, which is an exit permit for me to be able to exit Cyprus. And I'm only allowed to stay in Cyprus 3 months at a time. Otherwise, they're going to make me go to the army. And you might ask, but you have a British passport. No, it's because my dad has a Cypriot passport. Anyway, I have to go to the Cypriot army. And so they told me the only way you can get exempt from going to the Cypriot army is if you prove that you've been outside of the country for 10 years. How do I prove that, you might ask? I have to provide letters from every embassy of every country I've lived in for the past 10 years. So let's go back 10 years. Okay, 10 years ago, I was in Saudi Arabia. So I will have to get a letter from the Saudi Arabian embassy saying I lived there from whenever I lived there. Then I have to get a letter from the British embassy saying I live there. Then I have to get a letter from the Chinese embassy saying I live there. Then I have to get a letter from the UAE embassy saying I lived there. And then I have to get one more from the British embassy and then from the Chinese embassy again. Imagine how much paperwork I have to do just to prove that I've lived outside the country for 10 years. And I've said to them, are you mad? How am I supposed to do that? And because they have never been through a situation where they actually like have to deal with that, because it's such a unique situation, they're just like, and my dad, trust me, which means like, I don't know. And my dad there have been times when my dad once actually did it for me when I was like younger, like 17 or 18 or 18 or 19 or something like that. He did it for me, and they lost the files in the cabinet. You know, so anyways, stuff like that. You know, simple stuff where they're like, oh, just pull out your home address. My home address. Yeah, your home address. Just the place that you've lived in for the longest time. Just give us like a tax number. Give us like a you know, your permanent address, utility bills. Which is why I've always said that people who are third culture kids or international need some kind of system just for them. In the bank, in, you know, online, like emails, people who travel a lot, all of that kind of thing should protect us. Phones, you know, there's so many times when I've had to access something from a phone number that I used to have ages ago, and now I can't. Like, they should have a phone that's just completely, a phone SIM card that's completely international. They probably do, I haven't looked it up. But you know, it should be really accessible. So those are some of the really frustrating things about being a third culture kid, someone who's lived in so many places. Just the technicalities of things, being able to deal with documents and processing things, you know. Even, I can go on. The criminal checks. I had to do a criminal check for my current job. He's like, oh, okay, put where you've lived for 5 years, each address. I'm like, oh my gosh. Should I get out my notebook and just like, my list? So I'm learning to become more organized with that kind of stuff and just log everything and update everything constantly, because I've been in so many situations where it's just so frustrating. I'm like, what was that card number? What was the ID number I had in the UAE that now they want? Do I now have like a copy of it somewhere in Gmail, scouring through Gmail, asking my dad to check in Gmail? It's crazy. So that is a little bit more of a negative video on being a third culture kid. You know, the majority of the time it's amazing, it's so interesting, but there are those things that become quite irritating. And so I hope that gave you a little bit of insight on the more realistic side of what it's like to be me and many other people in the world who are third culture kids. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'm inspired with another video idea tomorrow. I'm gonna go downstairs to meet that delivery man who has brought me some naughty snacks, chocolates and crisps. So guys, if you got to the end of this video and you feel like, you know what, this guy has something to say, he flicks a switch in my brain, he lights a fire in my spirit, then subscribe. Put a comment if you feel like this was relatable or if you learned something, and give me a thumbs up if you feel like you liked it. It's a very quick click for a very big impact. So I would really appreciate that. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow for another daily vlog, and speak soon. Bye.